In this lecture, I want to talk about setting time limits for yourself. So what I mean by that is when you have repetitive tasks, again, this goes back a little bit to the lecture on pushing yourself to move faster. So when you have repetitive tasks, give yourself a time limit for that task. I have a couple of examples. I taught a lot of university classes and I did a lot of grading. And because I believe that good writing is important, I assigned a lot of papers. That meant I had to grade a lot of papers. So I could easily spend 45 minutes on each paper, identifying all of the strengths and weaknesses, very carefully, very meticulously going through every word, every sentence. 45 minutes later, I'm finally gotten through a 5 or 7 page paper that a student wrote. When I have 35 students, 45 minutes a paper, I don't even want to do that math. So instead what I did is I set myself a time limit. And based on the length of the paper, I allowed myself 5 minutes or 10 minutes per paper. That was it. That was enough time to quickly read through the paper, quickly. Identify a couple of strengths, a couple of areas for improvement, mark a couple of grammatical errors, make some good comments, the end. In the end, the student had no idea if I'd spent 5 minutes or 45 minutes grading their paper because the end result was the same. I found that if I spent 5 minutes grading a paper, I got the same grade. I came to the same conclusions as I did when I spent 45 minutes grading a paper. So I set these time limits for myself, and I worked through my work very quickly. And I watched the clock. I timed myself, and I made sure that if I was getting stuck on a paragraph or stuck on a part, Michelle, move on. You have to move on. You're running out of time. So that helped me really minimize my time commitment on this task that was not very fun. Another time that I used this technique was in graduate school when I had to read a ton of research articles. These research articles were thick, they were dense, they were abstract, they were heady, they were hard, they were really hard. And I found that the more deeply I read the article, actually the less I understood because these articles are very detail-oriented. So I gave myself a time limit. 30 minutes an article. Every article got 30 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, I was done. I watched the clock. If I was at 25 minutes and I was still in the first half of the paper, I needed to move a lot more quickly. In this particular case, it helped also because it allowed me to skim the main ideas from the paper instead of getting bogged down in the details. So that was useful for me in that way also. But in general, the time limits and the setting the time limits really, really helped me. It helped push me to be faster, which I talked about in a previous lecture, and it helped really minimize my time. It definitely helped me work smarter and not harder. So set yourself some time limits on these tasks that you have to do repeatedly, that are really time-consuming tasks, and you'll find you get through them a lot more quickly.